Hello everyone, welcome to episode 4 of Cam's Corner. As always, I am your host, Cameron Lawrence. Today I just wanted to kind of jump in on some of my quick combine thoughts, where I thought players finished, kind of what I saw. What I saw at the combine is Bryce Hall cemented himself as the 101 in 1QB leagues, and I think he's the 101 in Superflex leagues as well. Being as big as he is, being able to run a 4.39 with the body of work that he had at Ohio State, it is really hard not to want to take Bryce Hall. He also looked really good in drills, had a great vertical. He's just an all-around great player, and he backed it up with the measurements to prove it. So I'm really high on Bryce Hall. I have the 101 in one of my main dynasty leagues, and I will for sure be taking Bryce Hall there. I think in 1QB leagues, Treylon Burks is still the 102 for me. I still think he's the second best player off the board. I think that he can do the most. I think he has the biggest ceiling out of all these wide receivers. I do think that Garrett Wilson ended up closing this gap just a little bit more, running a faster 40, showing that speed. I wasn't as impressed with either of their drills. I thought they were all right. Just nothing really stood out. I think that's kind of what some people feel about Burks, is that he just didn't really stand out. I don't think it matters too much. I don't think this combine was as important for him. I think we were kind of building up this myth about Burks that he was going to run this 4.3 40, crazy blazing speed, but he's just 215 pounds, 6'3". It just wasn't really going to happen. As we look at the quarterbacks, I wasn't impressed, to say the least, about any of these quarterbacks. I saw a clip on Twitter of Malik Willis overthrowing the guy by 5 yards and people praising him for how great his arm is. I don't care if you can throw the ball 70 yards in the air if you can't connect on those throws. And I understand it's a combine, it's just one receiver. But I'd like to see a little bit more from Malik Willis. I think he's definitely going to be closer to a Jalen Hurts than like a Michael Vick. But it remains to be seen. I do think he'll still be valuable in Superflex leagues because I think he's going to get 4 or 5 years as a starter for sure. He's going to have fantasy value with those legs. And then obviously the draft capital is going to ensure that he does have those years as a starter. Other quarterbacks I liked Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati. I think if he can find the right spot, I don't know if he'll be a starter this year, but I do think he showed something with his legs, running a 4.5. His film is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's great. I don't think any quarterback in this class is great, but I think I like Ridder kind of as that dark horse to be the best quarterback in this draft. But even in Superflex leagues, I still think I'm taking Bryce Hall at the 101, and I'd strongly consider taking Treylon Burks at the 102. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think that's being realistic with where the quarterbacks are. If I'm looking at this draft and I'm sitting outside the top 7, because I got my top 7, I got Bryce Hall, Treylon Burks, Kenneth Walker, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, and Isaiah Spiller. I think that they are all going to be great. I think Spiller kind of took a step back off of this combine. I think London did too. I just think that's what happens when you don't run the 40, is people get all excited about these times and they kind of forget where you're at. Williams, we knew wasn't going to because of the injury. But I think that they kind of make up that first tier of players. After that, Chris Olave, Dotson, I think are kind of in that second tier, George Pickens. But I don't think that they're going to necessarily be the same talent level as those other guys. So if I'm sitting between the 107 to the 112, I'm okay with looking to trade back out of that, either in the draft or looking for a first next year. I think this class next year is going to be much better than this class, and I think this class really elevated their value through the combine. So I would be looking to move probably towards next year, unless you need to add a piece now. And even if you need to add a piece now, I think I'd try and add a veteran. Another guy that really stood out to me, I just want to add, is Christian Watson. Just a crazy combine, proven with that height. It'll be interesting to see where he goes in the NFL draft. I think that will kind of determine his level of value in fantasy drafts. Now, as I'm looking at this, I just acquired the 101 and I traded away Cam Akers, and I feel much better about that now, knowing that I will be getting Bryce Hall. But I wanted to just throw out some other names and to let you know what I'm thinking for that 101 spot. Another guy I got is J.K. Dobbins for the 101. I think I'm actually going to stick with Dobbins as of right now. After the draft, it could change depending on where Bryce Hall falls. But I love the rushing game in Baltimore. I know people are worried about Lamar, but I am not. So I'm going to stick with Dobbins. DK Metcalf for the 101. This is one I saw in Keep Trade Cut. I'm going to stick with Metcalf. I think he is so talented. I would rather have a wide receiver there. You get an extra 3 years out of Metcalf than you will any running back. And I think that he's going to be a better performer than what you're going to find in this draft class. Next, Antonio Gibson. I'd actually trade Antonio Gibson for the 101 right now. I might wait to see where Hall falls. But I think that Hall will be an upgrade over Antonio Gibson. Stephon Diggs. I would have a really hard time with this one. I'd probably hold off of doing this. Gibson, I'd feel okay doing now. Diggs, I'd probably hold off. That's a tough one. And then the last one, DJ Moore. I would trade the 101. I would trade DJ Moore for the 101 in a heartbeat. I like the skill of DJ Moore. I just don't know if I believe in his fantasy output personally this year. Well, thank you for joining me. I just love talking the combine. Hope to see you again next time.